Have you ever wondered about the childhood of one of history's most influential figures? We often hear about the great achievements of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as a messenger, a leader, and a guide for billions. But what about the boy before the man? What was he like growing up in the deserts of Arabia, long before the first revelation? Today, we're going to journey back in time to uncover some of the rare and beautiful stories from his early years, tales of innocence, wisdom, and the subtle signs of a destiny that would change the world forever. These aren't just historical accounts, they are profound lessons wrapped in the simplicity of a child's life. So, get comfortable as we explore the remarkable childhood of Muhammad, the orphan boy of Mecca. His story begins with loss. His father, Abdullah, passed away before he was even born. According to Arab tradition at the time, noble families would send their infants to be nursed by Bedouin women in the desert. The belief was that the desert air was healthier, the lifestyle more robust, and the Arabic spoken there purer. So, the infant Muhammad was entrusted to a woman named Halima al-Sa'diyah from the Banu Sa'd tribe. Halima's family was facing a difficult time. A severe drought had left their lands barren and their animals weak. When she first saw the infant Muhammad, she was hesitant because as an orphan, he wouldn't bring the financial reward a child with a living father might. But something drew her to him. She felt a connection and decided to take him. And from the moment she did, blessings began to pour into her life. Her old, weak she-camel, which could barely produce a drop of milk, was suddenly full. Her donkey, which had been the slowest in their caravan, became the fastest, surprising everyone. Her flock of sheep would return from grazing each evening with their bellies full and udders overflowing with milk, while the other family's sheep came back hungry. The land around their tent seemed to become more fertile. Halima and her husband knew this was no ordinary child. They felt an immense sense of barakah, or blessing, that surrounded him. He was a source of goodness and prosperity for their entire household. Halima would later say that she had never known a child who was easier or more blessed. This period in the desert wasn't just about physical nourishment. It was a divine preparation, shaping his character in the purity and simplicity of nature, away from the complexities of city life. One of the most extraordinary events from his childhood happened while he was with Halima's family. It's known as the incident of the opening of the chest. One day, while the young Muhammad was playing with his foster brother, two figures dressed in white appeared. They gently laid him down, and one of them opened his chest, took out his heart, and removed a small black clot from it, saying, "This was the portion of Satan in you." They then washed his heart in a golden basin with pure, blessed water, and placed it back in his chest, sealing it without leaving a scar. His terrified foster brother ran back to Halima, screaming that Muhammad had been harmed. When Halima and her husband rushed to the scene, they found him standing, pale but unharmed. This miraculous event is understood as a spiritual purification, a divine cleansing preparing him for the immense responsibility of prophethood that lay in his future. It was a clear sign that he was under divine protection and was being prepared for a unique purpose. After spending about 4 to 5 years in the wholesome environment of the desert, Muhammad was returned to his mother, Amina, in Mecca. The time they had together was brief, but filled with love. When he was around 6 years old, Amina decided to take him on a journey to Yathrib, later known as Medina, to visit her family's relatives and the grave of his father, Abdullah. It was a long and arduous journey of about 500 kilometers. This trip allowed the young boy to connect with his father's heritage. However, the journey back was marked by tragedy. On the way back to Mecca, Amina fell gravely ill at a place called Al-Abwa. In his presence, his mother passed away, leaving the 6-year-old boy an orphan twice over. Imagine the sorrow of a young child losing his mother in the middle of the desert, far from home. He was brought back to Mecca by his father's loyal servant, Barakah. Now, he was under the care of his loving grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib. Abd al-Muttalib, the chief of the Quraysh tribe, loved his grandson dearly. He saw a special quality in the young boy and would often give him a place of honor, seating him on his own cushion next to the Kaaba, a privilege no one else received. He would say, "Let my son be, for by God, he has a great future." This deep affection provided a sense of security and love for the young orphan. However, this comfort was also short-lived. Just 2 years later, when Muhammad was 8 years old, his beloved grandfather also passed away. Before his death, Abd al-Muttalib entrusted the care of his grandson to his son, Abu Talib, who was the Prophet's uncle. This chain of caregivers, from Halima to Amina, to Abd al-Muttalib, and finally to Abu Talib, shows how divine providence was always at work, ensuring he was never truly alone, always surrounded by people who loved and protected him. Life with his uncle Abu Talib was different. Abu Talib was a respected man, but he was not wealthy. He had a large family of his own to support. From a young age, Muhammad did not want to be a burden. He started working, taking on responsibilities that taught him humility and diligence. He would often take the family sheep to graze in the hills and valleys around Mecca. This job, common for many prophets before him, taught him patience, watchfulness, and compassion. Tending to a flock of sheep requires you to be gentle, to guide them, protect them from predators, and find them food and water. These are the very qualities of a good leader. In the quiet solitude of the desert pastures, he had ample time for reflection, observing the vastness of the sky and the intricate details of creation. This connection with nature deepened his contemplative character, a trait that would be central to his life later on. One of the most well-known stories from this period involves a trading journey to Syria. When Muhammad was around 12 years old, his uncle Abu Talib was preparing a merchant caravan. The young boy, eager to travel and learn, pleaded to go with him. Abu Talib agreed. During their journey, they stopped at a town called Busra. There, a Christian monk named Bahira, who lived in a monastery, noticed their caravan. Bahira was known for his knowledge of ancient scriptures. From his monastery, he saw something unusual, a cloud that seemed to be providing shade specifically for one person in the caravan, moving as he moved. Intrigued, Bahira invited the entire caravan for a meal, something he had never done before. He looked at every face but didn't see the one he was looking for. He asked, "Is everyone here?" They told him that only a young boy, Muhammad, was left behind to watch the camels. Bahira insisted the boy be brought to the meal. When Muhammad arrived, the monk observed him closely. He saw physical signs on the boy that he recognized from his religious books, descriptions of a coming prophet. He saw the seal of prophethood between Muhammad's shoulders, a distinct mark mentioned in his scriptures. Bahira then took Abu Talib aside and warned him. He said, "Take your nephew back to your country and guard him against his enemies, for by God, if they see him and know of him what I know, they will try to harm him. A great destiny awaits this nephew of yours." Heeding the monk's advice, Abu Talib sold his goods in Busra and quickly returned to Mecca with his nephew, understanding now, more than ever, that the boy he was raising was truly special and needed protection. These stories from Prophet Muhammad's childhood are not just charming anecdotes. They paint a picture of a life shaped by trial and guided by divine wisdom from the very beginning. The loss of his parents taught him empathy for the orphaned and the vulnerable. His time in the desert instilled in him purity of speech and a deep connection to nature. His work as a shepherd taught him patience and leadership. Each event, each person he met, was a piece of a divine puzzle, preparing him for his ultimate mission. His early life was a testament to the fact that greatness is often forged in hardship, and that even in the darkest of moments, a divine light is always there, guiding the way. These rare glimpses into his youth show us the makings of the man who would be known as Al-Amin, the trustworthy one, long before he became the final messenger to humanity. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the early life of Prophet Muhammad. I hope these stories have given you a new perspective on his incredible life. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might be interested. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our future explorations into fascinating historical and spiritual topics. Until next time, take care.